AI is now generating full stack applications in minutes, often by people who are not traditional developers. Those apps are touching real customer data, healthcare records, and financial information. If privacy is not built in from the start, you may end up shipping risk into production at the speed of light or AI. Replit has now integrated HoundDog's privacy by design code scanner directly into its AI app generation workflow so creators can see sensitive data flow and fix issues before they go live. And to talk about what this means for developers, for enterprises, and for trust in AI generated software, I am joined by Amjad Afanah, founder and CEO of Hound Dog AI, Asif Bhattik, head of product partnership at Replit, and Dawei Feng, lead software engineer at Replit. Amjad, I'll start with you. Of course, we have hosted you folks a lot of time in past, but just to refresh memories of our viewers, what does Hound Dog AI actually do, and what specific privacy challenges in modern AI generated applications are there that you are targeted or you're targeting or at solving?
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for having me again, Swapnil. So HoundDog.ai is shifting privacy to the left, so to the earlier parts of the development cycle. And if you look at data privacy today, besides responding to data subject requests and consents, the one of the hardest challenges that data privacy teams face is documenting processing activities. So you have to basically record what kind of data is being processed, stored, and shared. And for companies that have large software engineering teams, keeping up with high development velocity and all the kinds of abstractions and SDKs that developers embed in their code makes the privacy team's lives much very hard to keep track of all of that. And the data privacy platforms of today are reactive. So they're scanning data that's already collected in production, and they often miss a lot of the SDKs and abstractions that are embedded in code where data may be flowing to AI integrations or other third-party SDKs. And so this is where we come in. We've developed a static code scanner that is able to scan the code as developers are writing the code and gives the privacy teams the ability to track those data flows at the speed of development across all the potential risky data sinks like logs, files, and local storage, but also the third-party and AI integrations in order to have accurate processing activities and make sure that they're continuously compliant, even if developers are pushing code on a very frequent basis.
Now, I would like to hear from Replit team. Talk a bit about, of course, Replit, and also what kind of functionalities, capabilities the platform you're building enables, and how AI has changed the way you're more than almost 45 million creators build and ship software.
If I start off with like what Replit really is enabling is it's democratizing the ability to build your ideas into software. And if we take a lesson out of our history books, we've gone from lower level languages like the ones that enabled zeros and ones to middle and higher level, all the way through to Python and what standard software development the languages that software developers use to date. But the highest level of abstraction and highest level of language could arguably be human language, and that could be English or Spanish or Urdu or Mandarin. Any of those are languages in which we communicate ideas. And so where Replit starts is on those ideas and translating that into incredible software, enterprise-grade software that folks can use in their day-to-day for consumer purposes, whether that's like an app to organize a holiday dinner, all the way through to an enterprise application where somebody is building an agent to support them in data analysis, and everything in between. So you could imagine apps, agents, games, any combination of software that could exist. Replit really allows you to use your natural language to communicate that idea and then build something that's deployable as you would in an enterprise environment. And this is why our partnership with Hound Dog and Amjad is so important, is because it builds on that end enterprise ready piece of it, where security for a, let's just say like a person with an idea, security is not the first thing they think about when they're going through with building their idea, and it's probably not even the last thing that they think about. It only shows up when somebody makes it like an issue area for them, and so our partnership with Amjad and Hound Dog here is really to bring security as an embedded, baked in like component where our users don't have to think about it, but it's as easy as clicking a button. And our users can understand, hey, here's the things that you want to cover and maybe resolve ahead of deploying something so that you don't get into some trouble that you didn't anticipate. So I think as Replit kind of continues to embark, our real goal here is to make sure that really anyone who has an amazing idea can build and build with a sense of surety that the application will work, as well as a sense of security that it will be safe as it's doing the work that they envisioned.
Amjad, can you talk about how does Hound Dog AI actually plug into Replit's AI app generation flow? And can you also walk us through what it scans for in the generated code and how it gives creators visibility into sensitive data flows and potential privacy leaks so that they know about it before something bad actually happens?
The HoundDog.ai static code scanner is now embedded as part of the app generation workflow. So a few months ago, Replit integrated with SemGrap's Community Edition's scanner to catch security flaws. So this could be like SQL injection or outdated dependencies and things like that. And with this new release, they've now added the HoundDog.ai scanner, and what it's doing is that when you've generated the app, like Asif was saying, like you've given plain text English to generate an app saying like, I want to build a medical application that does X, Y, and Z. There is an option that allows you to run a security scan. And when you run that, it now runs either privacy scan as well, powered by the HoundDog AI scanner. And all thanks to Dawei for helping us implement that. And so when you run these privacy checks, it's checking for potential sensitive data exposure in logs, in files, local storage, but more importantly, across all the third-party and AI integrations that you may have enabled in your application. And if it's a simple privacy leak in a log, you can actually use the Replit agent that other users have used to fix security issues. You can use that to fix that privacy leak, omitting that offending code. And if it's an exposure to, say, OpenAI or other third-party integrations, we'll just give you kind of like a warning saying, like, just make sure this matches up with your privacy notice. You have the legal basis for processing this data and that it's reflected in your data processing agreement. It's just kind of a way to allow these creators to kind of have this privacy mindset and think of these things, especially if they're creating apps in the medical or finance spaces where sensitive data is collected.
Excellent. Thank you. Dawei, I have a question for you now, or ask if you may take it. Replit already scans for security issues like SQL injection and outdated dependencies. Why was it important to move privacy scanning directly into app generation step instead of treating privacy as something you check later in the pipeline? Because privacy security, that's an afterthought. That's someone else's problem, right?
For Replit, we have a lot of users. They are non-technical users, and they can be from a lot of different fields. For example, they can be doctors, they can be lawyers, they can be any people on earth can come to our platform and use our apps to build whatever they have been dreaming for. So there can become to an issue is that like when the agent is building a medical app for our doctors are going to use the app to collect some of their patients' data. And in this scenario, we don't want to have any data leak because nobody wants to leak their patients' blood type, their medical conditions to a third-party places. So here comes with the privacy scan tool, HoundDog.ai, because with HoundDog, we can catch the data flow from ground up. So basically, we can catch issues, things like, oh, are we sending the patient's information to places like OpenAI or sending the data to like Datadog or logging the patient's data forever. We don't want these things to happen. And with HoundDog, it allows us to catch these things as soon as the agent trying to send those privacy data to a third-party places.
The only issue here is that a lot of things, when we talk about, you mentioned doctors, some of these are heavily regulated industries. These are not optional. These are compliance that you cannot even take for granted. So what you're talking is not like optional that, hey, doctor should be not leaking it. So can you also talk about, it's not like nice to have, it is kind of mandatory.
Let me chime in here. I think like oftentimes folks with ideas don't necessarily recognize the regulatory and legal constraints that they are obliged to as a practitioner of a field. So in the example of a healthcare worker, a great physician is great for the purposes of, or for the fact that they focused on being a physician and not a lawyer, and not a cybersecurity expert for that matter either. And so this is a first step forward to making sure those great developers and those domain experts have have a moment, hey, to say, hey, like HoundDog has kind of run through all of the information that you've kind of worked on, and these certain areas are things that we don't want to send over or we don't want to include. And so let's go ahead and delete them. Let's go ahead and remove them. And it's important that something like a HoundDog can support the great idea makers and idea generators who, again, are not going to be experts on those required security rules or cybersecurity experts that they would otherwise need. And so I think the physician example is a great one where I know plenty of doctors and plenty of healthcare professionals find great benefit from AI, but they don't necessarily have the full sense of like, where does healthcare stop and end as it relates to AI, as it relates to something like an AI software development tool. And so I think the real important piece here is this is a first step forward to making sure that nobody puts themselves in a position where they're risking something. And so I think to your point, it's absolutely important for folks to adhere to these rules. And this is a very small and early step towards making sure that we support them in that journey.
Can you walk us through a concrete scenario? Let's say a creator is building an app that touches PII or even healthcare data. What did finding and fixing a privacy risk look like before this integration? And what does it look like now with HoundDog's AI inside Replit?
Replit has really been tuned towards making sure that we are enabling the best and safest way of developing software. One example of that is our secrets feature, where in software development, you have things called like these numerical keys called APIs. And you might have other things, other secrets as well that you don't want to have living in your full repository. You want it in a hidden folder tucked away that doesn't get uploaded anywhere, that's only available and accessible to the right application stack. And so as part of that, oftentimes some of our developers don't realize that, hey, you don't want to put an API key into your chat. You don't want to put certain other secrets into your code itself. And what this partnership with HoundDog does is it will run through and saying, hey, I noticed you did something that you shouldn't have, like put something like an API key here. How about we fix that? Let's remove it from the code and let's put it in the right folder in the right section in the secrets panel of Replit so that you're not passing this like sensitive information over when you deploy something.
I guess just to add on that healthcare example. So basically, like if you're building a healthcare application and maybe you've decided to, hey, let's use AI in this mix, and maybe OpenAI can help us with suggested kind of medical treatment options based on the medical condition. So I'm gonna like collect maybe medical condition information from my patients, send just the medical condition data to OpenAI, and then OpenAI will give me suggestions, and like I'll know what to do, how to present it to the patient, and that could help leverage the power of AI to kind of provide the best treatment options, which is all great on paper, but then when it comes to the actual implementation, you just want to make sure that you're sending just the right amount of data. It has to be data that cannot be tied to a specific person. So if you're sending the medical condition, it doesn't. You make sure you're not sending like the first name or last name or other identifiers that can tie that condition to that person. And the other part is just documenting that. So making sure that if you are sending the medical condition, that you have the legal basis, which is great, and that you're reflecting that in the privacy notice to kind of optimize for user trust. And so that even if the creator is originally kind of trying out Replit for a prototype, but then eventually as they start getting more and more users, that's when HIPAA comes in and GDPR comes in, and you want to make sure that you're adhering to all these policies by at least reflecting all the data flows in your privacy notice and making sure that it's part of your data processing agreement.
Now, earlier you folks also described this as the first phase of the integration. What is the next phase, or what does the roadmap look like from here in terms of deeper automation and transparency, things like data flow maps, ROPA, PI documentation, and helping larger team, not just individuals, keep up with the as you also mentioned, privacy compliance at scale?
Right now, the first part of this integration is just highlighting the privacy leaks, as we call it, which is you have X, Y, and Z sensitive data in your logs, or it's being sent to OpenAI or being sent to Datadog, as Dawei said. Next phase is there's a lot of enterprise customers that Replit kind of has, and a lot of them have not just one but multiple developers, creating apps, and so it becomes very hard to kind of figure out, okay, what are all these apps? What kind of data flows do they have? And beyond just the privacy leaks, but can I get a full sensitive data map of all types of sensitive data, even the things that are being stored in safe data sinks like databases? I still want to document all of these things and get like a comprehensive, accurate data map in order to generate the records of processing activities and privacy impact assessments, which where the data map becomes the hardest part of these assessments. So that would be like the next phase. Obviously, right now we're just launched this, so we want to see the user feedback. We want to hear from the actual users, and as time goes on, there's a lot of opportunities for expanding this integration and this partnership.
One thing that I would like to add is that we are also adding HoundDog into our deployment flow. So basically, when the user finish developing the app, and then when they want to publish and launch their app, we will run the security scanner and the privacy scanner before they launch, so we can make sure that we have a gate there to make sure there's no actual data leak before they publish their app.
Do you feel that we are moving towards, just the way we used to talk about security by design, we are moving towards privacy by design in AI code generation, at least, to change the expectations of developers, enterprises, regulators, policymakers, and even consumers? And if yes, we are moving towards that direction. Now, there are two ways. One is you can create as many tools as you want. You can bring a horse to the lake but cannot make it drink. But sometimes those tools become catalysts to bring that cultural change. So what advice do you have for organizations who are just starting to adopt AI, so that while the tools are there, they have this mindset, these practices within their organizations of privacy first, privacy by design, irrespective of whether they are in a regulated industry or not?
The AI coding platforms, have been evolving at a insane speed right now. And as Asif said, putting these guardrails becomes a very important part of kind of empowering enterprises to start trusting these platforms even more. And Replit having 45 million users is a huge testament to the amount of trust that users have with such platforms to prototype, and actually not just prototype, but actually launch actual apps and host them on the infrastructure. So obviously it's kind of like a journey, right? So like step one, let's make sure the app is secure, so no hacker is able to breach and extract and exfiltrate the data. And then step two is like, oh, okay, like we just created a financial app or a healthcare app. What regulations do we have to comply with? What kind of documentation do we need to submit? And making sure these platforms are able to kind of take them through the entire journey end to end, basically.
Amjad, Asif, Dawei, thank you for joining me and breaking this down. It's clear that privacy can't be an afterthought in AI-generated applications anymore. Embedding tools like Hound Dog AI directly into platforms like Replit is becoming a foundation for building trustworthy software at scale. Thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to chat with you folks again. And for those watching, if you are working with AI generated apps or handling sensitive data in your software, make sure to check out what Hound Dog AI and Replit are doing around privacy by design and automated data flow visibility. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to TFIR, like this video, and share it with team. Thanks for watching.